This program has been made possible by the friends and partners of Joyce Meyer Ministries.
Welcome to Enjoying Everyday Life. You are not going to believe what you are about to see on today's program. It is shocking on many levels. A true story so unusual that you truly have to see it to believe it. It's also a beautifully redemptive story that will encourage you if you've ever been abused or manipulated. So first, let me ask you a question. How many decisions have you already made today? Like what to wear, what to eat, how to spend your time? I bet you wouldn't like it at all if all your daily decisions were made for you, if you were controlled by other people in every area of your life. I know I wouldn't like it at all. Today, there are people, especially women and girls, who are not free to choose anything for themselves, and not just in other countries. What you are about to see happen right here in the United States. It's hard to imagine living like that. So we do everything we possibly can to show them the love of Jesus and to help them begin to dream again.
You want to go for a walk? Good boy. Good boy.
You know, when I sit here in my own home and I think about the comfort and safety of home, it makes me really wonder what it will be like when we go to Short Creek, because these families have never had that. They have been in terribly abusive situations. They've been very controlled, and some of you understand what that's like as well. But I'm looking forward to connecting on a personal level as a part of Joyce Meyer Ministries and as part of Short Creek Dream Center working together. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to do this. It's kind of one of those things that makes your heart happy again. When you go to tell a story, that's one thing. But when you go to bring a solution, that's another. And that's what I'm most excited about seeing happen here.
Good boy.
We are driving through spectacular Utah, getting close to Hilldale, Utah, which is where cult leader Warren Jeffs really wreaked havoc on nearly an entire town of people that he systematically controlled and manipulated everything about their lives, from what they wore to what they ate to who their families were, who they slept with. And so many of these, especially young girls, were dragged into this, forced into this, abused sexually in horrific ways. And many of these women and children were born into this lifestyle. They're lacking education, they're lacking sanitation, they're lacking hygiene. We talk about Project Girl being able to guide, restore, and love. And this is a place especially where that restoration and that love is so important. And the guidance aspect of this is very delicate because they have been a part of a religion that was gone wrong, that was very manipulative. And what we have the opportunity to do now, very gently, very lovingly, is to introduce them to the real loving God who can make a difference in their lives. They need that so desperately. But you can only imagine how hurt they are and how hard it will be for them to trust in this again. So we're just so grateful to have this relationship with the Short Creek Dream Center, that together we're there being a consistent force in their life, not leaving. This is not just about a sensational story. This is about God working in their lives in really big ways.
The history of how women were treated, they were seen as a piece of property. Under Warren Jeffs, they were even traded as property. Women were marginalized as much as could be.
When Warren Jeffs was in charge, you constantly had to worry about where you would be, where your kids would be. There was no security. There was no safety. There was no knowing what was going to happen the next day.
One of the things that is has to be very difficult for people to at times come back into this house that was Warren Jeffs' home, where many of these people lived or came at different times. The room very close to us over here, the intake room, where women were examined, essentially sexually assaulted. So many things happened in this home. How are you taking this place and turning it around and using it for something very different?
The community and beyond are coming in with their own versions of dreaming up what a beautiful space looks like. And they'll come in and they'll remodel and redecorate. The inspection room that you mentioned was one of the most emotional ones to do. When we had somebody adopt that space, there was a Murphy bed in there, which was used, we're told, was used for inspections and horrible things. And when somebody adopted that space, we gave women from the community sledgehammers and empowered them by letting them come in here and just go at it. And they were fierce. It was inspiring because we know those people. Mm-hmm. We see them at the grocery store, and there's just this connection. So they got to come in there and smash that all up and have fun. And we had the tile up at the moment, so the women and other community members that have had experiences in this house got to come in and write whatever they wanted on the floor, and then we tiled over it, and that'll be there forever. So.
Mm-hmm. We had a thought process behind it, and I mean, of course, it's backed by scriptures. Like, what was meant for evil would be meant for good now. That's what our mindset has been throughout the whole remodeling of this home, is that we wanted to take those spaces and transform them for something good, in a place where people will feel welcome, they will feel safe, they will feel at home, and they will know that this is the place where they get to start again.
There's a room in this house that I think is so interesting, because you told us that he would know things about people and say that God had told him that these things were happening in their lives. Well, in this room, you discovered that he had access to communication, to email, to everything that was going on, not only in this home, but in the town as well. So when people began to realize, wait a minute, it wasn't God telling him these things, how did they deal with that?
There was a lady from the community that had toured, and once we were explaining that during the tour about this room, she was like, well, that's how he knew. That's how he knew. And so, of course, we asked, we're like, what do you mean? What did he know? And she said, well, in chapel, he pointed me out and said, I know that you're talking to a boy, and the Lord told me that you need to stop. And she was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, I didn't know how else he could have known. And so that just further made them believe that he really does hear from God. How else would he have known that? the level of control and hold that he had over people, or that he manipulated situations to make them believe that he was truly hearing from God, was just horrible and so traumatic for so many people.
In the United Order, you got interviewed basically by Jeff's, and he would, ask you questions like if you've been good or were respectful to your parents, basically if you deserve to get into heaven. And most of the time I wasn't there. I would dissociate, and I don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
But, there are, things that come back to you and, but yeah.
Yeah. What were you thinking about your future through all of this?
I knew that if, Warren, we were always told Warren was going to get out of jail, and then, we were all going to get married, and Father kept telling us he had dreams about, marrying us off. I knew that if it came to that, I would leave. And if that wasn't an option, I would just not.
You would have to make some really hard choices.
Yeah, it would just not be worth being alive. If it came down to that, I know it.
I was 8 years old when I lost my mom. I had my younger sister who was crying for her mom, and she just got slapped in the face and said, "You don't ever get to see your mother again. She's gonna die." And I just remember standing up straight, just like a board, and was like, "I'm fine." And it was like, that was my first time of having to stuff my emotion. And then we all kind of looked together, my three sisters and I made a pact we wouldn't talk about our mom. And it was like a swear word in our house. It was not okay to talk about our mom.
And that was a trend, wasn't it? That if there's hurt, if there's something that's not right on the inside, on the outside, everything had to look okay.
Yes, they called it keeping sweet. It was the keep sweet training. You were not supposed to show anger. You weren't just supposed to show unrest or anything like that. You were supposed to be happy. You were supposed to be joyful and submit. When I was 16, I got married to a 25-year-old man, and we were taught that having a man in our life is what defined us. And so I felt like I was not comfortable being alone. So of course that sets me up for being that vulnerable. And how on earth are you supposed to have a good, healthy relationship or marriage when it's based on that you're supposed to fall in love with your rapist?
I was the 65th wife of Warren Jeffs. I remember all the peer pressure to be loyal to the church, and why would anybody question, and why would anybody leave, and all my friends and everybody was so willing to be there for the church, because that was what kids do. Like, they all want to be good, so you make all these commitments as a child, like, I'm going to stay loyal to the end. And when you do start to question, you kind of have to deny what you've already set up for yourself for your whole life.
I'm sure it brings some guilt with it too, right? When you begin to ask these questions.
It does. To me, it got really intense fast because I decided to not do what he said. He's really a master at psychological abuse, and he likes it. So I was tortured psychologically with cult doctors. Like, they had me on Seroquel 800 milligrams.
They drugged you.
Yeah, but I knew they either were going to kill me or they were going to commit me.
And law enforcement at that time couldn't help either because they were also controlled by FLDS.
Yes, and I didn't dare tell anyone. I felt in danger, and I was in danger.
How difficult is it to rekindle dreams in the lives of people when they've been through something like this?
One of the things I really don't like is time heals all wounds. We found it's not true. Work heals wounds. The therapy heals wounds. Love heals wounds. And we're finding out that 10 to 15 years out from major life transition or trauma is not a long time. So there's still a lot of work to do. Most of the people who live in this town have lived here for the last 10 or 15 years. And so they've been impacted by all the events that happened here. They experienced the no fun, the no toys, the no consecrating, all those different crazy edicts.
We have some people that are still dealing with a lot of the sexual abuse that happened when they were younger, and just now addressing it. You know, the families being separated and split apart and people sent out for repentance missions. Those are all very, very, very common.
Not just that, but when the United Order left, they took a lot of the prosperity they had built with them. And so Colorado City proper suffers a 49.9% poverty rate. So there's a lot of need here.
Right. Some of the needs for the people here are also very fundamental. Hygiene type of things. Women, children were not educated. Tell me some of those needs to kind of get people to where they need to be to survive today.
The average age of exit or grade of exit for school was 3rd grade. You know, so we've approached, adults that are catching up all the way from there. And so some of the things we provide are GED classes. We have business development. We help people in the career field and legal support. We help mothers who had to leave some of their children to find them again. We have a food bank, and we give out almost 100,000 pounds of food average a month.
We also offer some residential services and equine therapy, counseling services. I mean, our motto is find a need and fill it, find a hurt and heal it. So if they call us and it's something we don't do yet, then by golly gee, we're gonna find out what we can do in order to be able to do it.
It's a dream center. That's what this is. And we at Joyce Meyer Ministries love working with you guys and being a part of Dream Centers in many different places. Being able to be here, being able to have access to this land as a place to help people for their healing is astounding. It was donated by one of Warren Jeff's wives.
She escaped this property. And when she had the courage to come back to this town, she went to the UEP, that's a trust that owns everything that the church owned. And they will give out property to victims. But Brielle wanted to make it into a place of healing and a place of rescue and a place for people to transition out of trauma and into, fully formed, functional lives. And then, short time after that, she ran into some folks from the Dream Center, and we ended up turning it into what it is today with her partnership.
There's documentaries about the story and the history, and you can do your research. But what's amazing, and there's been no road to recovery, and this is what we are in right now. We get to be a part of writing history that ends well. And we are so grateful for the support. Honestly, it's oxygen to us. Without Joyce Meyer's ministry, we would not be on our feet because it's a huge project. But Joyce Meyer was the first to take a risk and put her resources and her amazing ministry stamp behind us. And that brought other people alongside to go, oh, well, she's involved, we're in. And it's exciting because the word about the Dream Center is spreading, even to surrounding cities. And I asked Brielle Decker one time, I said, what do you want the world to know? And she said, I want the world to know that our community are fighters, and that we're going to make the greatest comeback the world has ever seen. And because of the history that comes with this community, their comeback is going to be the most impressive and powerful comeback, and we all get to be a part of it.
Yes, it's true. This is a place where terrible things happened. But today, this is a place of love and restoration because God is working here. And that is what Project Girl is all about. You can be a part of fighting for the women and the children here and all over the world.
Join us by going to projectgirlgrl.org. Give us a call today, do what you can, and let's reach out and let women know that they are valued and important. At what point did you know you needed to come back to help all the people through so much trauma that you've all experienced?
It was hard because I felt so weak. And I feel like that people from here a lot of times struggle with the same things. I think to find your purpose and your inner reason why you keep getting up and why you keep going, and all of us that have been told so much about what to do, like when you first leave, it's really hard. Like even to sit down at a restaurant and say, what do you want to eat, is like, I don't know. And they don't know how to like come to a conclusion at all. I remember that feeling. And also like cults a lot of times get ignored. I know God sees it, but I think he wants us to do more.
Yeah. And you wanted to help make sure these people are not ignored.
Right. There's a whole movement of people that say, just stuff it all down, don't ever talk about it again. We have new kids, new generation, let's just start over. But my movement is really talk about it so you can heal from it and also add a positive. Like all this negativity and all these people in documentaries or whatever we do, it's not leaving us, but we can add a positive.
Yeah.
We can talk about how it's changing and how we're all like healing. And
you're creating new good memories here, definitely.
Yes. God is constantly reminding me of how he is the one in charge. Like, he really is doing all this stuff because like life is fragile, and you know I've been awakened to it a lot in my life, but I also realize I'm still here. You know, there's a greater purpose. God had a way bigger, you know, he wanted to save way more people than just me.
Yeah. Lucia, talking to you is actually very exciting because you represent that full circle of what can happen here. You've been here as a resident, and now you're here helping other people as they're coming through to find their restoration and healing as well. Tell me who you are in Christ.
I am an amazing woman of God who can do anything through him. And I am resilient and strong because he's given me that strength, because Jesus is my strength. And what he wants me to be is a chaplain who shares his word and shares his love to people and walks alongside women who hurt and who are suffering and oppressed, and helping them be empowered.
When you look at this community, how important is this place to your community that you've been a part of for a long time, that you know the needs of? How is this helping to heal beyond the walls of this house?
I think it's important because a lot of the ladies, especially the women in this town, they're still oppressed. They're still in that state of men are bigger and higher than I am, and they don't have the self-worth. Even though they're moms and they are working and they're paying their bills and all of that, there's still things that are slacking, and it's just mostly self-care. They don't take care of themselves because they don't know how. Even though they've left the FLDS, they still feel that oppression because they don't even know how to be themselves.
And women all over the world in abusive relationships. I mean, it really is very universal.
I'm finding that out.
In a terrible way, yes.
I am. I'm finding that out more and more.
Our initiative at Joyce Meyer Ministries that we call Project Girl is all about guiding women into the beautiful person that Christ wants them to be, restoring them from the hurt and the heartbreak, and loving them as Jesus loves them. Tell me how you are seeing lives restored.
If I could share a couple things, you know, especially considering Joyce Meyer Ministries, and I don't think it's any small part that they've been doing here. It's just amazing. There's a lot of work to do here, and it starts with safety. You know, nobody cares about anything until they're safe. And then we start to kindle hope. You know, hope is the precursor for dreams. You get somebody with a little bit of hope inside them, then the dreams just start coming out.
The truth is that dreams don't just disappear. People just need somebody to believe in them, to help them dream again and just be by their side. And once you have that, once you have somebody that believes in you, like the sky's the limit and you can do anything you want to do.
It feels like a different life. It wasn't mine. It was like watching a movie.
And it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, it's 7, 8 months.
Tell me your dream for your future now.
I'm career-wise, I'm going to become an event planner. The end game, probably weddings. Like when I first start, then birthday parties and other events too.
So you have some definite plans in mind. It sounds like you've done some big thinking about this.
Yeah, I just kind of put all the stuff I love to do and put it together, and that's what it came to. I love planning and.
Yeah. Did you love that feeling that now the possibilities are kind of open to you? You can choose and do what you want to do.
Yeah, the only career there ever was mom and dutiful wife.
Yeah. Tell me why you want to share this story, Liddy. Why do you want people to know?
I want to help. I want to help people, and I plan on helping people. And in any way that I can do that, I'm going to try.
I believe that you will. I know that you will. And I think that it's important and very brave of you to share what you're sharing. So thank you very much. I'm glad to get to know you.
Thanks.
That transformation, there's like no words for it. You see it and you're thankful, you're proud, and you're just one small part of that. So it's just absolutely amazing to see them be able to dream again and hope again and believe in themselves, and then be able to pour that into somebody else, because every single person that's pretty much come through here has in some way also given back and brought other women into the fold to see what has happened in their lives and inspire them to do the same in theirs.
Project Girl exists because Joyce experienced in her own life the horrific confinement and effects of abuse and trauma. And to be able to be here, making a difference for so many of these women, for their children, is astounding.
Did you realize that you can be a part of what is happening here and all over the world as well? You can fight for women and girls together with us, and then we can do so much more. So I ask you to reach out today. Go to joycemeyer.org, give us a call, and stand with us. Let's make a difference in these lives.
We hope you have enjoyed today's program. Please contact us or visit joycemeyer.org to share your prayer requests or partner with us in sharing Christ and loving people all across the globe. This program has been made possible by the friends and partners of Joyce Meyer Ministries.